to another edition of Hashtag Football Friday Love right here on Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she's right over here. I am Sidney Brown. You better know it's me. You can find yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, again, IG.
Excuse the Friday jitters, folks. Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion, do not 2 hours extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You better hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and/or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I have to give LaKeena full powers to give you Dumbo's bill and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live game that's checking us out right now. That's LIVE Live Entertainment game that's checking us out live right now on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube pages at 12:23 p.m. Central Standard Time. But let's not forget much love to the replay game checking us out on the replay, also at our Chicago Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channel. Don't you ever forget our motto, whether we talk sports, music, or entertainment, we will provide.
And we remind you of the best here on Second City Sports, of course, as this is the last Friday show of the month of September. We've got a great view of slate of college football matchups in Week 5 as Illinois tries to rebound against USC. They host USC in Champaign. Also, you got Oregon and Penn State among some of the other great top 25 matchups. That's commencing. We'll have that. We got the U.S. men's Ryder Cup team. Playing right now. They trail 3-1 against Europe down in Bethpage, upstate New York. We'll talk about that as well. Some sports media news as some changes made to the CHSN Bulls pre and post lineup. We all kind of figured that what was going to happen there. No Christine Manica this week, but we'll talk about. We'll have her number up for the radiothon for cancer research, childhood cancer research. We'll have that up throughout the day, throughout the show as well. Of course, also we got NFL. Of course, the Bears are on their way to Vegas to face the Raiders. Also, some great matchups that are coming up there as well. But first, let's talk some baseball as the Cubs do get some good news. Unfortunately, they lose their series. Excuse me, they lose their series, but earlier this week. But they do, they are still in the driver's seat, to clinch the top seed in the wild card round. They face the Cardinals starting tonight, and they got some good news with Cade Horton. It looks like it doesn't look too serious, so he will be ready to go next week. For the wild card round. The White Sox, unfortunately, they lose 100 games for the third straight year, and also some interesting movements in the both in the divisional and the wild card rounds. But let's start with the Cubs and see what can they do to try to make sure they go clinch the number 1 seed in the wild card.
Well, they got to sweep the Cardinals, but as we we'll talk about this after the break, as we've seen throughout the last few days, these lesser teams, they're not cooperating, and rightfully so. They got a job to do just like everyone else. But looking into this Mets Cup series, LaKeena, I was encouraged. I believe that was Tuesday's game where the Cubs scored 7 runs. All of them were scored without the home run, but the bullpen gave it up. Wednesday, from a national audience on ESPN, they came out ready to play. And of course, last night, not to be the Mark Silverman pessimist, but I've been telling you about Shota Imanaga. I've been worried about him for the last month or so. Last night did not help. Check out these numbers. 5 2/3 innings, gave it up 9 hits, 8 runs, 8 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, 1 walking, 2 home runs off of 91 pitches. LaKeena, I don't want to go overboard, but the worst fears if you're a Cubs fan has come true. Yes, Shota Imanaga is technically in his second year, but he's got to go pitch potentially in the playoffs game next week against San Diego in the wild card series, if you use last night as a barometer, he's not ready. He's not. I know you talk about the good news for Cade Horton, and hopefully he gets to start next week against the San Diego Padres. We said that Matthew Boyd, he'll probably be a game one starter on Tuesday, but if you based out Schroeder's performance off of what happened last night, he's not ready for the playoffs next week. You should save him for the bullpen at best.
Yeah, I think he really should, because I think he's kind of shown you why. Will endure. He joins the 30-30 club. That's 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases. So, unfortunately, that didn't help, Schroeder's cause as well. So I think, maybe putting him in a bullpen or have a throw a bullpen session before the wild card round to kind of get his confidence back, because, it's going to be interesting to see, like, if that's going to be the case here. Now, will we see Jameson Taillon as part of that starting, rotation as well for that 3 games, assuming against San Diego? But they only got to win one of the, I think, their magic number to clinch that top seed is only, I think, down to 2. So they got to win 2 of these next couple of games in at Wrigley against St. Louis. So we'll see what happens with them. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see if the Cubs, they got to play with a little bit of urgency here. Now they've been kind of up and down the last couple weeks, since clinching the playoff spot. So they got to play with a little bit more urgency here. You got Colin Ray against Nicholas for starting in about an hour, just a little under an hour from now. So you got Taillon. He places McGreevy in for that last game of the regular season to be announced on both fronts. So there's no reason why the Cubs shouldn't win 2 out of 3, because we've seen some of these lesser teams play with a little bit of urgency, because they got to, look, they're trying to play for next season as well. So we'll see where the Cardinals' mindset is. But for the Cubs, you should be able to take care of business, get that number 1 seed in the wild card.
Yes, and you're at home, and you've been better at home than you have been on the road all year. And going back to Jameson Taillon for a second, LaKeena, I told you that pay attention to his last start. We talked about from last Sunday on our last show on Monday. He pitched very well. I know he gets to start tomorrow. If he gives you close to what he did last Sunday, I'm giving. If I'm Craig Counsell, I'm having Jameson Taillon take Schroeder's spot in the rotation. I know it's the best 2 out of 3 in the wild card series against San Diego starting next week, but Jameson Taillon gives me something even close to what he did last Sunday in Cincinnati. Schroeder Imanaga goes to the bullpen. Is Jameson Taillon, Matthew Boyd, and Cade Horton is my 3 potential starters next week against San Diego. That's enough said from me as far as the starting pitching. The bullpen. I don't know if you noticed anything, LaKeena. I know the game was in a blowout on Wednesday, but did you notice that Craig Counsell put in Daniel Palencia to get him some work? Now, does that mean that Daniel Palencia is all the way back for him to potentially close games starting maybe in this series if the opportunity presents itself against St. Louis, because the playoffs are next week? Or do you go do a bullpen by committee with Andrew Kitteridge, or I'm not going to say Caleb Thielbar because he's a perfect setup guy for your 7th and 8th inning. But do you go to Brad Keller as well if you don't trust Palencia, if he's not healthy enough come playoff time? I noticed that Craig Counsell gave him some work on Wednesday, even though the game was in a blowout. But I noticed something there. I was like, is he trying to get him ready for the playoffs? Probably, but does it mean that Palencia will get his old job back? I don't know.
All right, going to be very interesting to see what happens there. As we'll take a really quick break, of course, we'll talk some White Sox, as they now have lost 100 games for the 3rd straight year. Ooh. And some playoff spots for clinch, but there's some that are still being decided, and the one that's getting a little bit too close for comfort for one team after blowing a big lead. We'll have that so much more. Well, that's a little bit of hit right there from Sid. McGee, Sidney, Second City Sports on Sports Touchdown. More Diamond Talk coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe. But some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey Maggette, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition. A lot to load, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Kim again on the Twitter, execute again, IG.
More Cubs and Sox and baseball talk continuing for this half hour. So if you have any questions or comments regarding that subject or more, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Again, we'll get the up on the screen for you.
All right. The White Sox, unfortunately, when you thought that maybe things are kind of looking up a little bit, last week hasn't been very good. They lost 5 in a row, including get swept by the Yankees, including 5-3. Now the Yankees are now tied with Toronto. We'll get to that in a second. But the White Sox, unfortunately, have lost 100-plus games for the third straight year, and they finished their season in D.C. against the Nationals. Sid, what's happened to your White Sox?
He had the chance to win the Shane Smith game on last Tuesday. The bullpen crapped down their leg. That didn't help. Last Wednesday, almost the same thing. You didn't get great starting pitching. Of course, last night, Davis Martin, he was okay. 5 strikeouts, 2 walks in the 4th and the 3rd inning. He only gave up 5 hits or 3 earned runs. He was okay, and perhaps his last start of the year. The White Sox had a 3-1 lead early, but that damn bullpen once again gave it up. But here's the thing, LaKeena. Does it suck to have 3 straight losing 100-plus loss seasons? Yes. But I'll say this, and I'll continue to say this. This year, we know that the White Sox weren't going anywhere in terms of being competitive, but you're starting to see some signs from certain players that you want to be part of this core going forward, like Colston Loveland, Chase Mydroff, Miguel Vargas to a lesser extent. Lenin Sosa's bat, his glove stinks, but you saw what Lenin Sosa could do with his bat, and you've seen performances out of starting pitchers that has been a surprise, like Shane Smith, the Rule 5 draft, and Davis Martin. I mentioned from the numbers are from his start last night. So you're starting to see some signs that the White Sox can get out of this quickly. I know Dan Plesac was on the White Sox Talk podcast a couple of weeks ago with Chuck Garford saying that the bottoming out was last year. This year, this should be over in terms of bottoming out. I hope he's right. I think he is right. But as we'll talk about this all season, LaKeena, the White Sox need to be competitive next year. I'm not saying they're going to go all in, no, but this team has to be different next year. You got to get some veterans in there in some key spots. The defense has to be better, even though it has been better at times this year, unlike last year's shit show. But you got to get some veterans in there to be competitive next year. Because if you had Chris Getz, you told him to get us out of this rut in the next couple 2-3 years. This offseason is key to what the White Sox are going to do for the next 2, 3, 4 years. So, obviously, you cannot bring this same team back. Will Venable is the perfect manager for this young group right now, and they have responded nicely. Now you got to get some veteran players that are competitive to help these young guys take another step and start playing some consistent winning baseball.
Just do a little housekeeping here. Our girl Christine Matt for KXRB is doing her annual radiothon over at KXRB, and so we got the number. It's been a tradition for the last 3 or 4 years. So we got the number 605-328-5750, or text CKC to 50432. So tell your friends about it. We'll have that up throughout the rest of the show. Now, as far as back to the White Sox, I mean, it's kind of, we've seen some signs, right? I mean, it's going to be, we saw what Montgomery's done and Vargas and the young guys have done. And even Mike Toplett, I know he's going to be out for the rest of the year because he had to, he tore his right knee meniscus, and that will require surgery. So he's going to, for you also welcome in Gonzalez. He'll miss the rest of the season with right elbow impingement, whatever that means. I guess inflammation. I guess a fancy word is saying inflammation, that right elbow, throwing elbow. So so he's done for the year as well. So yeah, I mean, if you're the White Sox, I think you kind of you made some progress. You're not as bad as you were last year, but you gave a little bit. You had some little flashes here and there, but you're kind of go back to being exactly who you are. So I think if you're the Sox, if you're Chris Getz, you need to find out what's going to be the top priority. Are you going to perhaps go out and get those top free agents? Probably not, especially who's going to sign the checkbook. Will it still be Ryan Stork? Will it be Justin Ishbia? Who knows? But I think if you're the White Sox at this point, there's going to be a little baby steps, I guess. But again, you're going to have to make another step too, because I know you don't want to finish in the basement again, the AL Central.
No, especially the way we'll get into the rest of the division in just a moment. But as our good friend, Good Guys Talk Back podcast and a friend of the show, Nick Morawski, always says, the White Sox always quote the AL Central, the ever forgiven AL Central division. Look what, even though Kansas City's not going back to the playoffs this year, look what they're doing. You don't have to spend that much of a big payroll to field a competitive team. Look at the Detroit Tigers. Look at the Cleveland Guardians. Remember, the Cleveland Guardians, this same team that we're watching now, they were in the ALCS last year against the Yankees. Yes, they lost in 5 games, but they were very competitive. And they don't have a big payroll. Chicago's the third largest market in the country. The White Sox just operate like a small market. Now, have they spent money in the past? Yes, not to the level of the Yankees, Mets, and Dodgers, but they have spent money. But it's time to take, like you said, even if it's just a baby step next year, you got to get some key veterans in there to help these young guys take another step. And them just sitting on their hands or just doing very little outside of potentially picking up the $20 million option in Luis Robert Jr.'s contract. That's going to be unacceptable by White Sox fans. And here's my message to Chris Getz, and I'm repeated during this offseason, assuming that the front office picks it up. Make a damn decision if you're going to trade Luis Robert Jr. or not. We played this game the last offseason. Nothing happened. We played this game during the trade deadline last year. Nothing happened. We played the same song and dance this past trade deadline. Nothing happened. So, assuming that they pick up the $20 million option, Chris, can you make a damn decision, a final decision, or whether to trade him or not? Because you play this same song and dance again, it's going to have a small stain on your record, and not whether this team is going forward, not being competitive. If Luis Robert Jr. is going to be part of this team that's going to take a step forward, leave him there. If not, stop playing this game. I'm going to trade him here, wait till March, or I'm going to wait till July again to trade him. Make up your damn mind, stick to it, and make a damn decision. That's all to say about that.
All right, so your starting pitchers for those last 3 games against the Nationals. Yalmas Gomez against Cavalli. Then you got Sean Burke against Irving, and you got Shane Smith to finish up the Ole Finney to finish up the series, the season for the White Sox. To be announced because the Nationals have not announced who their starting pitchers for that Sunday game to finish out the regular season. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you as we're talking some baseball here. Talking to let's say division talk. A little bit of the Guardians and Tigers. Now the Tigers did win to save themselves from getting swept by the Guardians. Now they're tied. Now the Guardians do have the tiebreaker. They've both got some interesting matchups. Of course, we'll talk about when we talk about the schedule. Tigers, they face the Red Sox and to finish up the season. So that's going to be interesting because the Red Sox are still fighting for their playoff chances as well. And then the Guardians, they host the Rangers. So I'm sure the Rangers would love to play spoiler there. We'll see. So where do you see this division?
I said all year that we were going to get one team out of the division to go to the playoffs. I still feel that way. I hate using that F word, no pun intended, but watching all three of those games this week, it tells me something about the Guardians. They're resilient, as we told you on our last couple of shows. They have timely pitching and defense. Jose Ramirez, congratulations to him. He leads the Guardians/Indians franchise in extra career bases with over 730. He accomplished that last night. Gavin Williams in that first game on Tuesday against Tariq Skubal. He pitched well, matched him pitch for pitch, and Cleveland earned that win after trailing 2-0 against Skubal early in the game. Wednesday, Cleveland just took the bull by the horns. He said goodnight, Gracie, to the Tigers. Last night, the Tigers, I thought, responded, especially early. Riley Green hit his 36th home run of the year, and their bullpen held it down. So Detroit were able to salvage a win out of that series. On the flip side for Cleveland, here's the thing. I mentioned that they're resilient because they beat Detroit's top two starters in Tariq Skubal on Tuesday and Jack Flaherty on Wednesday. They took advantage of Detroit's mistakes, and they put some runs on the board and ran away with it. I would not be surprised if Cleveland won this division, but Detroit, obviously, they're in trouble. I picked them to win the division at the beginning of the season. I'm going to stick to that, but it won't shock me if Cleveland finish this off. But as we said before, and we're going to keep saying it until our next show on Monday, these sub 500 teams, they got something to play for too, not for a playoff spot, but for jobs next year. And they can look at themselves in the mirror and say that we affected this team's playoff chances, whether they play a different team or not participate in the playoffs at all. That's going to give confidence for us going into next year. So I know Cleveland's using. I think you said that they're hosting Texas this weekend. I know there's going to be big crowds there at the Jake. I'm not calling it a corporate name, but Texas, they still got, even though they technically out the playoffs, they still got something to play for too. And knowing that Cleveland needs to win that series to clinch the division, it's not going to be easy. And then Detroit going up to Boston. Boston, as we told you a month ago, their chances of winning the AL East is out the window, but they got a hold on that second wild card spot, and I think they're going to get it done. But Detroit, like I said, I'm sticking to my preseason prediction, but it's definitely going to be tough. I think Tariq Skubal, if memory serves, he'll pitch on Sunday, so just in case the Tigers need to win their game to perhaps make it into that last wild card spot or perhaps win the division. I think they're smart there. But it's come down to the finish and who wants it more, who's going to be more consistent. That's who's going to win this AL Central.
Yeah, because remember the Tigers only a game back of the Red Sox too, so there's still there's still a lot to sort out here in that wild card spot. So it's only like one game between like among the three teams. So I think this is going to be interesting to see what happens here in this one. Now going to the AL East, the Yankees did clinch a playoff spot, being the White Sox. They're now tied with the Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays still have the tiebreaker. Those of you who, the Blue Jays still have the tiebreaker, so that's why the Yankees still up right now. But the Yankees still, they still got a shot at winning that division. They host Baltimore, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And also Toronto, they host the Rays. So both teams are going to be playing in division rivals here, but a nice, but look, stands with, we saw what happened with that during the White Sox series. He had a couple of home runs there. Also, Aaron Judge as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of looks with with both these teams. Who do you think comes out of that division with the win?
I still say Toronto because well, the way they've been playing all year, timely hitting. Even though Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is not having a greatest of year, George Springer, perhaps comeback player of the year. We'll see what happens with him. But Toronto, as we talked about for years on the show, they've been getting great starting pitching. Kevin Gossman, Jose Barrios, and they got a lockdown bullpen with Trevor Hoffman. I believe Trevor Hoffman's son as the closer. So has finally put it all together. Now the Yankees are starting to get some great starting pitching. You saw what happened with Carlos Rodon in that White Sox series. We saw what Max Fried's been doing his last 2 or 3 starts. So the Yankees are getting some good starting pitching, but I don't know if it's going to hold. And Baltimore's been playing sneakily good in the second half. So their series is not going to be easy. You mentioned about Toronto. I know they've been having their struggles the last few weeks as well. Tampa is coming to town north of the border. So that's Tampa, even though they're technically out of the playoffs, they're going to give it a good fight as well. So it's going to come down to the stretch, but I think Toronto's going to put it up in an extra gear and get this thing done. I'm talking about clinch the division. They're already in the playoffs, but they're going to clinch the division. So those good fans up in Skydome, I'm not calling that corporate name. So you great fans up there in Skydome, you'll be celebrating the division championship by the time we get back on there on Monday.
All right, speaking of the division, the Mariners, for the first time, they clinched the AL West since 2001. So yeah, they were.
I know you're very happy.
I know, yeah, and also too, Cal Raleigh hit number 60 on Wednesday too, both 59 and 60. It's the first time. Well, actually, look, Kyle Schwarber hit his 55, 56. We'll get to them in a second with the Phillies, and also Aaron Judge hit 50 and 51 against the White Sox on Wednesday. But even still, I mean, they still got a shot at getting the number 1 seed in the AL. And look, they swept the Rockies. They took care of business. They do face the Dodgers though, and the Dodgers still got a lot to play for too. So maybe a World Series preview, perhaps. Well, that's still a ways away from that one, but. Look, it looks like it's still everything's kind of hitting on all cylinders for the Mariners. They won, I believe, like 15 of the last 17. So that's they've been the hottest team, coming out the gate, and with also Raleigh. Look, it'll be between him and Judge for AL MVP. But yeah, I think the pitching is starting to kind of get it going there. Their hitting's been really solid too. Now, can they keep it up in the playoffs? That's another story.
Yeah, Seattle's been playing very well. As you mentioned, you want to play your best going into the playoffs. Shout out to Luis Castillo, the starting pitcher from Wednesday night's clincher with the Mariners. He pitched a hell of a ball game. I know it was against Colorado, but when a division title is on the line, you go out and throw out your best and play your best, and that's exactly what he did. He pitched his best. You mentioned Cal Raleigh with his 2 home runs. Up there dropping F-bombs on the post-game show. Not smart, but I understood why. It was a good jubilation, but congratulations to the Seattle Mariners for winning that division. I think I picked them to win a division. They should have to go back in our archives and see who we all picked. But they're making the Houston Astros look like fools right now, and partially I love it. So, and Dan Wilson, speaking of their manager, Dan Wilson, he was on the last team that they won the AL West title back in 2001. We know what happened in the playoffs that year against the Yankees in the ALCS. So, I know not too many people are talking about this LaKeena for AL manager. I just want to bring up this question for just a second. I know Stephen Voigt, I believe last year got it for the Cleveland Guardians. I think Cleveland steals the division from Detroit this year. I think he may get the award again, but we need to start talking about Dan Wilson for being AL manager of the year.
Yeah, he came into a pretty interesting situation there, but look, once they made the trades and he's been able to kind of get the best of all his guys, Raleigh doing what he does, Rodriguez, and the pitching too. I think they definitely make a case for him, to get AL manager of the year. But look, I think if they can, especially if they can clinch the number 1 seed in the AL, I think that'll definitely cement it for him. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, I think he definitely is in the conversation.
And for AL MVP, for those of you that missed it, I think it's on it's on the socials, especially here on YouTube. Mark DeRosa of MLB Network gave a great breakdown the other day on MLB Central between Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh in terms of who's going to win, who should win the American League Most Valuable Player. Although there was a great breakdown for him. For those of you that missed it, check it out on the MLB Network's all their social places, including here on YouTube. But except for the number of home runs hit, and I believe one other statistic, I believe it was WAR 2, wins above replacement. Their numbers are not that much different, LaKeena. It really isn't.
It's really just going to come down to, I guess, like, what people have voter fatigue. I guess, are they, do you have those voters that do stay up late and watch Seattle baseball? Because we've seen that people admit that they don't stay up late to watch West Coast sports.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of that rubs me the wrong way there. But look, I think if it's really going to depend on what they do in these next these last 2 or 3 regular season games. So it really is just going to depend on what happens there.
Yep. And back to the National League MVP. I know Shohei Ohtani is up there. I know he's pitching this year. He's been pitching for the last couple months, but I think he may suffer from voter fatigue too, like Michael Jordan in the prime of his career too. Let's just state LeBron James and Steph Curry in the NBA. But Shohei Ohtani had the year of all years last year in his first year in the Dodgers uniform. He deserved the MVP, no doubt. He's putting up great numbers, but he's kind of been struggling here lately too. But I still say Kyle Schwarber is your NL MVP, and no one else is even close.
Yeah, I think it's definitely Schwarber's NL National League MVP. I think it's just one of those things where, like I said, I think the voter fatigue thing is real. So the fact that Ohtani has been struggling both pitching and hitting, I think that definitely gives Schwarber the advantage there. But like I said, you never know what these voters are thinking, so we'll have to wait and see.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena here with you, talking Cubs, White Sox, and the rest of Major League Baseball. LaKeena, let's go back to the National League. The third wild card spot will be up for grabs this weekend. Cincinnati, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Paul Skeens really shut the door on them this past Wednesday. Cincinnati avoided being swept yesterday by winning 3-2. Of course, the New York Mets took 2 out of 3 on the north side here in Chicago. Who do you trust most to get it done over this weekend? I want to say the Mets, but yours surely picked them not to make the playoffs this year only because there may be former Mets personnel. Steve Phillips calling you. Who knows? But but the Mets, they made some deals at the trade deadline, especially in their bullpen. The bullpen has been horrendous. Their starting pitching has taken a hit as well. You saw it to a lesser extent the other night in the series against the Cubs. The Cincinnati Reds, they're a young bunch, but they really just couldn't get a good winning streak together. I'll still say that Terry Francona is the difference in this young team right now. You're seeing it. But who do you trust more, Cincinnati or with all the experience with the Mets, even though they haven't been putting it together either, especially since the All-Star break?
Look who they're playing, though. You got the Mets playing the Marlins. The Marlins have kind of, I know they've been playing okay, but they kind of been falling off a little bit there. The Reds, they play Milwaukee. Milwaukee still got a lot to play for. They still got a shot at that number 1 spot in the National League. So they're going to be having a lot to play for too. So I think only because of that, I picked the Mets. But then again, you never know what Mets you're going to get. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that wild card spot. The Diamondbacks, they basically just got to. I know they're not officially eliminated, but they basically got to. They play San Diego this weekend, so they basically just got to win their 3 and hope both the Mets and the Reds just completely fall off. So that's their only hope. That's their only hope of making it to the playoffs at this point. Sorry, Nick King, our buddy from Arizona family, the CBS affiliate in Phoenix, but. Yeah, I think that's the only way they're going to get into the playoffs. Now, as far as the Dodgers, perhaps maybe clinching, they've already clinched the division, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure that they still got a lot to play for too when it comes to seeding, so they still got a lot to play for as well. So the Phillies, they already clinched the number 2 seed. They got an outside shot at the 1 seed too. They host Minnesota. So that's really going to be the thing here. So yeah, it's really there's still a lot of jumbling up going on here in these divisional seedings and such. But yeah, I think if you're Rob Manfred and baseball, you should be glad about that.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be a whole hump weekend, but with the Tigers surrendering there, leading the AL Central, and the way that some of these other teams have been playing over the last month or so. This is what happened after they added the extra wild card spot in 2020, Baseball wanted parity. Well, this is like you said, this is what is created, and that's what we're witnessing now. And so I think it's a good thing going forward. Now, just give you a reminder, LaKeena, we talk about with the Mets traveling down to South Beach this weekend to wrap up the season. Let's not. I know things can be different, but just to give you a reminder, about 2 weeks ago, the Marlins took 2 out of 3 in that weekend series that opened Queens. So, if you're a Mets fan, I know you're not forgetting that. As we said before, we'll say it again. These sub 500 teams love to play spoiler, and this will give them confidence going into next year. So, if you're the Mets, you got to take care of business because Florida, the Miami, did the same thing to you just 2 weeks ago in Queens.
Yep. So, yeah, you definitely got to keep you on your toes there as you go into the last weekend of the regular season. Going into the schedule real quick, of course, you got St. Louis and the Cubs. Of course, they start their first game in a little bit here over at Wrigley. The White Sox and the Nationals. Philadelphia, like I said, they still got a lot to play for there when it comes to seeing they host Minnesota. The Yankees, like I said, they could, still got an outside shot of winning the AL East. They host Baltimore. That first game will be on MLB Network. Toronto, they host Tampa. That first game will be on Apple TV Plus. Detroit and Boston, a lot to be decided there with that game. That first game will also be on Apple TV Plus at the same time at 6:10 tonight. Then, of course, we aforementioned Messe face the Marlins. And you've got Texas and Cleveland. And I'm sure Cleveland will have to play spoiler for the Texas will have to play spoiler for Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. And your rest of your schedule for this weekend looks like this, involving playoff teams. We won't give you the games because no one cares, and neither should you. The Reds will travel to Milwaukee to take on the Brewers. The Astros, Sean Sierra calling the Trastros, they'll travel to Anaheim to take on Christine's husband's team, the LA Angels. Let's see if they can play spoiler. The Padres will host the Diamondbacks, as you mentioned earlier. Your Seattle Mariners will host the LA Dodgers. Now, Seattle clinched the division, and the Dodgers clinched their division yesterday, but I think it's going to be seeding and positioning for both these teams this weekend. So still a big series. And they'll be as far as the important series. Fox Saturday Baseball tomorrow. Your game of action, as far as regional action, looks like this. Most of the country will get Cincinnati and Milwaukee, while others will get Texas at Cleveland. Coverage begins tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, only on Fox. Remember, folks, on Sunday, there's no Sunday night baseball, because everybody starts their game at 2:10 p.m. Central Standard Time. We may be watching some clinching teams on that day. Maybe some historical talking about number of teams clinching playoff spots and divisions on that day. So, and that's your wrap up for this weekend's games in MLB as the regular season officially comes to a close on Sunday.
Going to be very interesting to see. Yeah.
I know you was giving me the wrap up sign.
No. I was giving you to keep going. I was telling you to keep going.
Well, we're going to keep going following this timeout as hour number 1 comes to a close. Hour number 2 is coming up after this timeout right here on Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday here on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll give you our Bears and Las Vegas Raiders preview. Who comes out on top? We may see some key guys out for Chicago. We'll give you the details on that. We'll preview Week 5 of college football. Will Illinois get back on track at home against USC in front of a national audience? Will Deion Sanders in prime time get it done against BYU? And we'll have our Week 4 NFL picks with Christine Manica's own picks in mind as well in our hands. That and a whole lot more. She's sick and say right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot.
and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone's somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports and the hashtag Football Friday edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live at 11 o'clock right here on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown over here is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, again, IG.
As we kick off hour number 2, previewing Bears and Raiders, along with Week 5's top matchups from the world of college football, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, so previewing Bears and Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. There might be the Bears might once again be without some key guys on defense. They haven't posted. They'll probably post it just as we're doing our picks. So we'll keep you guys updated there. I know DeAndre Swift. I know he did practice yesterday. So we'll see if he was limited. I know Darnell Wright hasn't practiced all week. Neither has Colson Loveland, nor Grady Jarrett, nor Kyler Gordon, nor TJ Edwards. So yeah, it's a pretty long list of guys, especially on that defense that have not practiced all week now. Now again, as far as this Vegas trip, I mean, look, the Raiders, they're not exactly. You can't really say that they're anything to write home about. I mean, no shade. Geno Smith, he's been okay, but not great. Ashton Genty just hasn't been able to get it going there when it comes to running. Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, those two guys. Brock Bowers and what he can do as well on the defensive side. We know Max Crosby, especially in that front. So probably one of the best front seven guys in the NFL. Now, again, besides him, there's really aren't a lot of guys on that team that. I'm not saying that the Bears shouldn't fear them, but they've given up a lot of yards. I'm talking about that front seven. So again, it could be one of these high scoring affairs, if you will. If you're so inclined. But I mean, this is gonna be kind of interesting game to say the least, Sid.
Yeah, and we'll give you our picks in our next segment in terms of who wins this contest. But coming into this game, the Raiders' offensive line is not good, and it's one of the worst in football, despite Geno Smith putting up some good numbers. And like you said, despite Ashton Jennings not getting out to that strong start like most people you surely expected him to do, I'm putting the pressure on the Bears defensive line to get the job done. I've been complaining about, we all complain about the lack of pass rush for the last few years, but I'm putting the pressure on the Bears run stopping defense. Grady Jarrett, if he's going to play, but I'm putting the pressure on Andrew Billings, Garon Dexter, and the linebackers to stop Ashton Jeanty because, as I mentioned, the Raiders have one of the worst offensive lines in the league. The Bears. Even though they scored 31 points last week, they really struggled to stop Javonte Williams at times last week. I know Tyree Stevenson caused that fumble to help turn their game around for Chicago. And, of course, the CeeDee Lamb injury followed as well. But that run defense still hasn't impressed me enough yet this year for Chicago. So I'm looking for the run defense for the Bears to get it done against a very shaky offensive line for the Las Vegas Raiders. And number two, will Montez Sweat have that dominating performance in terms of putting up multiple sacks? We still haven't seen a signature game from Montez yet in terms of him. Welcome to the Chicago Bears. We haven't seen that yet, in my opinion. So I'm looking for the Bears defensive front to dominate from both stopping and run and getting pressure on that quarterback. Now, the secondary for the Bears, like I said, it's going to be outside of Tyreek Stevenson. Who else is going to be available to suit up, first of all? And number two, will the Bears get enough pressure for them to have an impact in terms of takeaways? As I mentioned, Stevenson had that fumble, forced that fumble on Javonte Williams last week early in the game, which helped that secondary. But will Jaquan Brisker be more effective against the run or against the pass? We'll see what happens there. And I'm interested to see how Dennis Allen will play this Las Vegas Raiders offense. Yes, you can force a couple of turnovers, but will they focus more on stopping the run or stopping the pass?
It's going to be interesting to see, like you said. I mean, Jesse, he's only had 144 rushing yards, so it's going to be this year. So it's going to be interesting if your the Raiders maybe can take advantage of that front set, especially if Jarrett is going to be out. Now that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Now, if you got their secondary has been kind of shaky, so you got your Kobe Myers, you got Brock Bowers. I mean, you got to wonder if those two guys are going to be they might be primed for a big a big turnout game, or breakout game. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here, because I think this is one of those teams where I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It could be one of those things where the Bears somehow lose in a close one, because we've seen that happen. Although the Bears could also win the close one, we've seen that happen as well. So it's always a pattern with this team. So they get all revved up after winning, and then they end up sticking it up. So again, I'm in show me mode with all. I know Caleb Williams won air attack player of the FedEx Air player of the game, which he deserves it. But like you got to be consistent about it. So. I'm in Missouri, folks. I'm in show me mode with this Bears squad. You should be able to beat this Raiders squad. But again, look, we've seen weird things happen in NFL this year. Look what happened to the Cleveland, beating the Packers last week. So that surprised me about what would happen in this game on Sunday.
Going back, giving up a wrap up on the Bears. I want to focus in on the offense. Caleb Williams, you mentioned one player of the week last week, which was great for him, but I want to see how the Bears can dominate that offense, the defensive line of the Raiders. You talk about Max Crosby. He got paid a couple years ago. He's one of the top pass rushers in the league. He scared the hell out of Tyson Bagent a couple years ago when the Raiders played them here in Chicago, even though the Bears won the game. I know Justin Fields was here at the time. But if Darnell Wright does not play, you're going to have to send double, perhaps triple teams on Max Crosby, which leaves a couple offensive linemen on the other side, on the left side, very exposed and wide open. And that means that Caleb Williams is going to get sacked a whole lot more. And you cannot afford to do that if you're the Chicago Bears team, which means they had to run the ball with more consistency, whether DeAndre Swift plays or not. Now, if Swift plays, I think the Bears will be okay. He's been running great, especially in between the tackles all year. But DeAndre Swift does not play. It gives more time to Kyle Monangai. And does Roshan Johnson even have a role in this offense? And that's going to be another question if DeAndre Swift can go. Now, as far as the passing concerned, we'll see about Coastal Lovely. As you mentioned, he didn't practice yesterday. Well, I don't know about today, but I expect to see Cole Kmet more involved in the gameplay. I would like to see that. We all know that Roma Duze is going to be Roma Duze. DJ Moore, he needs to get a little bit more touches besides handing him off the ball in the backfield 2 times a game. He's being paid to catch the ball. I'd like to see that a little bit more, but we all know that Roma Duze is going to be Roma Duze. I'd like to see Cole Kmet get more involved in just keep it simple like they did last week against Dallas. I know, as we talked about on our show last Monday, the running game, at least statistically, it didn't jump out the window like we thought, but their running game was very effective. I'd like to see them do that again against this Raiders defensive line, especially keeping the pressure away from Max Crosby.
All right, going to be very interesting to see what happens there. So this is Second City Sports on Sports. So got LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you. We'll go back to, we'll talk more Bears when we do our picks after the break here. But I want to go into college football week 5. We're going into approaching the halfway point, I should say, of the college football season. Let's see here. Tonight's matchups, we got Florida State and Virginia. That's going to be at 6 o'clock on ESPN. And now I know Virginia has beaten Florida State before when they've been ranking the top 10, but I don't think it's going to happen this time. Now it could be interesting here in the Big 12. You got TCU and Arizona State at 8 o'clock on Fox. That should be a fun matchup there. And you got Houston and Oregon State at 9:30 on ESPN. Then the late slate here, so that'll be just see what happens with that. Now going to Saturday, tomorrow's games, you got Georgia Tech and Wake Forest. Definitely one of the surprise teams this year. We'll see a Georgia Tech on upset alert in Winston-Salem. We'll see what happens there. Now a little bit of redemption in the big noon Saturday game for Illinois as they host USC, undefeated USC down there in Champaign on Fox for their big noon Saturday game. Now, if you're the Illini, you got your butts kicked last week in prime time against in Bloomington against Indiana. You want to try to redeem yourself against a really solid USC squad, which, like we said the last couple weeks, no one's really been paying attention about this USC squad. I know eyes are going to be on them tomorrow, early tomorrow morning. Luke Altmaier definitely has to try to see if they can get it going on the offense. Now, Jaden Mava from SC, if you're the defense, you want to try to slow him down, but he can throw it, he can catch, he can pass it as well. So that's going to be a tough task for that Illinois defense. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see can Illinois redeem themselves? It's a very solid SC squad.
Also, to watch out for Wayman Jordan, the Trojans' top running back, 57 carries of 443 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think he's going to be key to set up what USC is going to do offensively for the rest of the game. And also to Mekhi Lemon, 24 receptions, 438 yards and 3 touchdowns. He could be and perhaps will be a factor here as well. But on the flip side for Illinois, I'm looking for their offensive line, which is the best offensive line, in my opinion, in the Big Ten next to Ohio State. They got manhandled last Saturday night on the road. It's going to be a pride check in this game to see if they can handle the Trojans' defensive line. I'm looking for also 2-4 that offensive line to set up the running game for Luke Altmaier for the Fighting Illini. So I think the Fighting Illini is going to come down to the trenches, both defense and offense. And both these running games are going to be heavily featured. So I want to see who's going to stand tall, especially when we get down, because I think it's going to come down to a field goal, in my opinion. I think Illinois is going to play better, but we'll see what USC does. Like you say, it's going to be a 9 a.m. local time start for you West Coasters out there in Southern California, 11 a.m. here. I know the pregame show for Fox will be in Champaign. I hope those students are going to have a great time and show the country and the world that LLINI is the best school in the state in terms of football. But I think it's going to come down to the trenches and who's going to protect the football, because as we said at the start of the season, LaKeena, especially in terms of Illinois, if they can protect the football, they're going to win the majority of the games. If Luke Altmaier has a stinger of a game, especially after what happened last Saturday as a team, this team is in more trouble than we thought, but I think they'll play a whole lot better, and we'll see what happens. I think it's going to come down. It's going to come down to a field goal, in my opinion. As of right now, the final line are 6.5-point underdogs at home.
What's the over under? Because I think I would take the over on this one.
Oh, the over under total is 60.5. So Vegas expects this to be a high scoring game. It may be. I just don't see it that way. But we've seen surprises before. We talked about with the NFL just a couple of moments ago. Maybe we'll have a shootout, and I think Illinois can put up some points. But I think this Illinois defense can get a couple of key stops if it comes down to that. But we'll see how it should be an entertaining game tomorrow down there in Champaign.
It's going to be warm also as well too. It's going to be in the near the 70s, around kickoff. So that might help USC a little bit there. So we'll see what happens. Also 11 a.m. on ABC. Got number 22 Notre Dame against Arkansas. We'll be interested to see what happens there. I know Arkansas had a tough loss last week, so I'm sure they're going to want to redeem themselves there against Notre Dame. Minnesota also coming off getting their butts kicked over at Cal. They host Rutgers on Big Ten Network. Duke and Syracuse. No, it's not basketball season yet, folks. They face 11 a.m. on the ACC Network, also as well as Louisville and Pittsburgh. The TNT game of the week, you got Louisville hosting Pitt, also a Big 12 matchup there. UCF, I know they've had a tough week, losing one of their assistant coaches suddenly. We'll see how their mindset is as they go down to K-State. K-State squad, they've been struggling too lately, so that's 11 a.m. on FS1.
Yeah, South Alabama will take on North Texas tomorrow at the same time on ESPNU. And we'll go to the afternoon games. We'll go to the late afternoon games now. 2:30 p.m. on CBS and Paramount Plus. Number 1, Ohio State versus Washington. Both teams are checking in at 3-0. I want to talk about this game with you in depth here just quickly. Julius Saying for Ohio State, their starting quarterback, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. On the flip side for Washington, watch out for Jonah Coleman, their star running back, 9 rushing touchdowns on the year. And a top 5 Heisman candidate, Jeremiah Smith, the star wide receiver for the Buckeyes, 20 receptions, 315 yards, and 3 touchdowns. LaKeena, even though it's in Husky Stadium on the West Coast, I expect this to be a high-scoring contest, and so does Vegas. The overall in the total is 51.5. I think it's going to go over the total, in my humble opinion, but Ohio State's been tested time and time again with these tough environments over the years. I know they lost a close one to Oregon around this time last year on the road, but Washington, I'm not going to say they had to play damn near perfect to win, but it seems that way. Offensively, I think they can keep up with Ohio State, but it's going to come down to the turnovers.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they can enforce it. They got a defense. The defense is actually decent, so if you haven't seen Washington play, I know you guys probably haven't stayed up late to watch it, but if they actually have a solid defense, it's going to be their first big test. If they can slow down Jeremiah Smith in that offense for Ohio State, this is probably going to be their biggest test yet. I'm talking about Ohio State. That place Husky Stadium in Seattle is going to be rocking. So that should be a fun match. I will definitely have this on my multi-view on CBS. At the same time, you got a top 15 matchup in the SEC. You got LSU and Ole Miss. Good friends there. Chip Kelly, Brian Kelly, I should say, and Lane Kiffin. They go back a long way, but but yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens here on this one. But Ole Miss is kind of quietly 4-0, and look, I know that they haven't been the best of haven't had the best competition yet, but I know Chambliss has been, ever since he's gotten into the lineup, he's been very solid for them. I think he's a 5th-year senior. It'll be Grant Nussmeier. That should be the team matchup on the quarterbacks slide. But I think the defense is really going to be the key here for both these teams. So that's good. Look, there's always interesting when these two teams play each other. So I don't expect tomorrow to be any different.
Yeah, you mentioned about Grant Nussmeier. He must play well. This will be a first true test for him on the year. I know he has 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, but you mentioned that the Bulldogs all miss their defense is going to bring it tomorrow. But Watch out on the flip side for Kawan Lacey, the star running back for Ole Miss. 7 rushing touchdowns on the year, all for 358 rushing yards on the year. But they star wide receiver Harrison Wallace III, 16 receptions and 2 touchdowns. He could also be a big factor tomorrow.
Staying in the SEC, you got Auburn off that tough loss in Norman against Oklahoma. You get to face a well-rested Texas A&M squad fresh off a bye week and off that win at Notre Dame. We'll see how their mindset is. Will be at 2:30 on ESPN. Indiana, coming from thumping Illinois, they got to go to Kinnick Stadium at 2:30 on Peacock against Iowa.
This could be a trap. I'm calling it right now. This could be a trap.
Look, we've seen weird things happen at Kinnick Stadium in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
It happens at least once a season. So could it happen again this year? Who knows? Look, we know Mendoza. We saw what he did against Illinois. This is going to be a first big test for Indiana. So it should be interesting down there over at Kinnick Stadium. You can watch that game streaming on Peacock.
And for those of you that are bettors out there, better than both of us combined, IU is favored by 8.5 points. Call me crazy, LaKeena. I think this is a little bit extra love of what they did to Illinois last week at home. You mentioned Iowa; they're a very good team, especially at home. I'm not going to say that Iowa's going to win a game. It wouldn't shock me if they did, but Iowa's going to keep that number close. I think they're going to keep that number close. So I know Indiana deserves the love, especially like I said, after what happened against Illinois last Saturday night. But that's too many points for my liking. I'm just saying.
All right, so that should be interesting. See what happens there. Now over in Evanston at the lakefront, you've got Northwestern hosting UCLA. Of course, you got UCLA. They're 0-3. I know they got a new interim head coach for their football squad. Tim Skipper. All right, we'll see what he can do, and we'll see if we can fire up the Brewers against Northwestern.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it should not be a problem for Northwestern, but they got to come out fired up on all cylinders early, especially on defense. Force a couple of turnovers. You mentioned with the Bruins having a new coaching staff, establish some kind of running game, and look out for wide receiver Griffin Wild for the Wildcats. 15 receptions for 213 yards. I expect him to have a big game tomorrow for that Wildcats offense. So I'm not going to say it should be a runaway win for Northwestern, but they should be able to win this game comfortably. Say that 5 times, fans. But in terms of the spread, the Wildcats by D-Lake got favored by 6.5 points.
All right, we'll see what happens over there. California and Boston College on the ACC network. You got Baylor and Oklahoma State, a little Big 12 action. Remember, Mike Gundy was let go after 21 years. Not surprised because I feel like as great as a job he's done, I know he played quarterback there back in the 80s, right around the time Barry Sanders was the running back there. Unfortunately,
Thurman Thomas too.
Yep, and unfortunately, the new voice. We'll see what Doug Meacham can do. I know he's been one of his top of the last decade. So we'll see your Colonel see there. So we'll see what they can do against Baylor.
Yep. At the same time on Fox tomorrow in Big 12 action, West Virginia at 2-2 will host 3-1 Utah. That should be a fun one. At the same time on ESPN Plus from DeKalb, Illinois, the Northern Illinois Huskies checking in at 1-2. They'll host San Diego State Aztecs. They are checking in at 2-1. San Diego State is favored by 1.5. So that should be an interesting contest for you good folks up there at Husky Country. Going down to the other slate of games. This should be an interesting one. On the SEC network at 3:15 p.m. tomorrow, Central Standard Time. Number 15, the Volunteers from Tennessee checking in at 3-1. They'll travel to Davis Wade Stadium down there in Starkville, Mississippi. They'll take on the 4-0 Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Yeah, they actually beat Northern Illinois pretty handily last week. And, of course, they upset Arizona State. Of course, they had them at home. Now, I'm going to be interested to see how they do here against Tennessee. I know they're 3-1 right now. They've been able to, sort of stew in a loss to Georgia. Aguilar, he has had a really good game. And also Bothwell from Mississippi State. He's one of the running backs. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this matchup. So, yeah, I definitely think that, those cowbells are going to be ringing like crazy down there in Starkville. So, hopefully Tennessee will be ready. But, yeah, it should be a fun one down there.
You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena here with you, wrapping up our Week 5 preview of college football. We're previewing now the primetime games going to under the lights at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN. Arizona checking in at 3-0 will travel to Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa. They'll take on the number 14 ranked Iowa State Cyclones. They're checking in at 4-0, 1-0 in Big 12 play. ISU is favored by 5.5. Does Arizona have a chance?
They have a slight chance. I mean, I know Iowa State's been really solid. I think Rocco Beck needs to make sure not to, look, he's been pretty good on not the turnover. No, Arizona's got one of those opportunistic defense. So it'll be just to see what happens there. If they can keep it going up there in the Big 12. Now, the big game coming up on prime time in the Big 10, you got number 6 Oregon and number 3 Penn State in Happy Valley at 6:30 on NBC and also streaming on Peacock. This is going to be the first big test here. Now we know James Franklin's got that retooled defense. Again, we'll see how they do against the offense of Oregon. You got Dante Moore for Oregon. Also, you got Dylan Allar from Drew Allar, I should say, from Penn State. So it's going to be interesting, but also too, it could come down to the defense. We know that Oregon has an opportunistic defense. I know James Franklin's been able to build that defense with a lot of transfers and such. So I think it's really going to be one of those back and forth games under the lights. So that place is going to be loud. That 105,000 folks over at Happy Valley. So. Going to be interesting to see but Oregon, they used to playing in hostile environments, so I don't expect that to be a big deal here. But it should be interesting to see what happens down there over there in University Park.
This is a simple game plan for me. If you're Oregon, if it turns out to be a shootout, I think Oregon has the advantage because, as you mentioned, LaKeena, Penn State can't put up some points, but then their roster's not built that way. Their roster's built on defense. If it comes to a shootout, I think Oregon wins. If Penn State can keep it close, I think Penn State will have a shot at the end. Katron Allen, I think he's going to definitely be the key to that Penn State offense as far as rushing the football. He has 3 rushing touchdowns on the year. But Dante Moore and his star wide receiver, Decorian Moore, they're going to have big games tomorrow. Like I said, if Oregon decides to turn into the shootout, Penn State is out of it.
Going to be very interesting to see what happens there. Now, another top 20 matchup. We got Alabama 2-1, I should say, against Georgia. Georgia, of course, coming off that win against Tennessee, so they've been able to have a little extra time to get ready for it. Actually, both teams were off this week, so they were able to. These two teams always have interesting little rivalry there, especially in recent years, playing for SEC championships, national championships, and whatever. But it's going to come down to the trenches here, and look, it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes for Alabama. Gunnar Stockton for Georgia. He's been very solid. 721 pass yards and 4 TDs. Ty Simpson, his first full year as a starter for Alabama. So that's going to be interesting to see. But I think it's going to come down to both teams' defense. I think that's really going to be the key here for me in this matchup.
Yeah, Georgia's favored by 2.5 at home. The over on the total is 54.5. I think I will go the under. That's why I don't bet. But I think I will go with the under as well because, like you said, it's going to be a defensive, physical game. I think it's going to come back to who runs the ball the best as well for both these teams. So I think it's going to be a ground attack, and we'll see what happens. And maybe a big turnover will decide the outcome as well. One more game to preview before we head out for this break. At 9:15 p.m. on ESPN, number 25 BYU, the Cougars will travel to Folsom Field at Boulder, Colorado to take on Coach Prime's Colorado Buffaloes. They are checking in at 2-2 on the year. Colorado's starting quarterback will be Caden Salter. He has 565 yards and 4 touchdowns on the year. But as well as I do, LaKeena, BYU loves to put up points like it's going out of style. They are currently favored by 6.5, with the over-under total is set at 49.5. Do I think Colorado has a shot? Yes, but in my opinion, Colorado must run the ball with more consistency, and their defense has to pick it up here and cause a couple of turnovers, or else they're going to get blown out once again on their home field.
Yeah, Colorado, I'm sure, is going to want revenge after what happened last year because BYU just bum rushed them down there over in Provo. So I'm sure they're going to want to, get a little payback there. But a lot of those guys, like Stuart Sanders and of course Travis Hunter, they're not there anymore. So we'll see what they can do here. Also, a couple other games. That game's at 9:15 on ESPN. But a couple other games. Real quick, you got Kentucky and South Carolina. That's going to be on SC Network at 6:45. Also, you got Wazoo and Colorado State. That's going to be at 6:30 on SEC Network, among some of the other ones. So a lot of good matchups coming down the pipe tonight and tomorrow, I should say, on Week 5 of college football as we approach the halfway through the season. So should be a fun weekend as usual.
Yeah, I know you say your multi-view is going to be very busy. Your shoe is going to watch that one game, perhaps two games this week. I think you know which ones they are. So we'll see what happens. We'll give you our Cisco Ebert reviews of all the big games coming up tonight, tomorrow on our next show on Monday.
Yep. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there now. We're going to take a really quick break. Of course, we got our NFL Week 4 picks. No Christine Metcalf, but we got her picks here too. So don't worry about that. Also, we got some sports media news, some big changes coming up from one of the top Bulls pre and post game shows, and so much more. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We got more fun coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey Maggette, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports with the hashtag Football Friday edition of the program. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena here with you, taking you through another ride on this Friday afternoon. This is our last segment of the show for today and for the week. So if you have any last minute questions or comments, get them in. But in the meantime, you can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, in the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, the IG.
As we dive into our Week 4 NFL picks, sports media news, and more for this segment, as I mentioned just a second ago, this is our last segment of the show for today and for the week. So any last minute questions or comments of any topics that we discussed thus far on today's program, you definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Real quick recap of that very strange ending to that Seattle Arizona game. 23-20 Arizona did come back. Arizona did come back and tie it. But unfortunately, I can already tell the new kickoff rule is going to be a pain in the what for some teams. Mm-hmm. And just Ryland just missed getting it in the 20-yard line, of course, just by one freaking yard. Unfortunately, Seattle was able to start in the on the 40, and of course they were able to go down the field. A big pass from Sam Darnold to Jackson Smith and Nigba, who had a great game yesterday. I'm talking about Smith and Nigba. Darnold did too, but yeah, they were able to set up Jason Myers field goal, and of course Seattle leads with the win. They're now 2-0, and they now have first place of the NFC West. And that was just that kickoff rule is going to be a pain, but I can already see that now.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's something that the players got to adjust and figure out. But Seattle were in control most of that game, and of course Arizona fought back in that fourth quarter. But as you mentioned, Seattle, they're one of the early surprise teams in the league. Yes, we still have a long way to go, but Sam Darnold is doing his thing once again. And that defense, no, it's not the Legion of Boom, but they're not too bad either. On the flip side of Arizona, they couldn't run the ball with any consistency. Yeah, they woke up in that fourth quarter, but you couldn't finish the deal. And if you're Arizona, you want to be one of those teams that gets into the dance, you got to finish off games like this. And you got to start off better, too. And last night, Arizona didn't start off well. As I mentioned, they came alive, especially in that fourth quarter. But you got to put the effort in all four quarters and all phases of the game to win consistently in this league.
Yeah, those two interceptions by Kyler Murray off of Marvis Harrison Jr., by the way. You can tell that was a killer. And when he finally did catch a touchdown, Pats kind of leads that comeback. You can tell the relief he had on his face and such. And so, but yeah, I mean, that Seattle defense, like I said, you got Devon Witherspoon, Julian Love, Leonard Williams. He's been around a while. So yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence. I know he went out early. He got hurt and went out early. But like I said, it's not the Legion of Boom, but they actually are a solid defense. So they could give San Francisco fits, especially if injuries become an issue for San Francisco. We'll talk about that in a bit here when we do our picks. But I mean, look, a strange ending to a strange game last night. But going into our picks.
Yep, early instant classic.
yeah, exactly. Well, maybe. Well, that's open interpretation if you want to use that game as a classic, but
right, what it was worth.
Yeah, right. Well, it actually ended up being a good game too, because it could have been a dead for the first 2.5, 3 quarters. But I digress. Now going into our picks here. We Christine and I tie with 10. Sid bring up the rear with 9, and I'm still up 2 games on Christine. Sid,
I was lucky with 9 picks.
Yeah. Well, again, look, I'm up. I'm up about 5 games right. Well, on you, I'm only up about 2 games with Christine, but look, still very early. I'm only on week 4, so it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So I gotta be the good friend here, folks. I gotta be the nice friend here. But let's start off our week 4 slate all the way in Dublin, Ireland. They're actually playing not too far from where I think Iowa State and K-State played. This is going to be a start of Minnesota and Pittsburgh. This is going to be the start of Minnesota's tour of the part of the UK. They play in England down at Wembley Stadium next Sunday. But now they start off in Dublin, Ireland, kicking off the NFL European Series as they face Pittsburgh. It's actually going to be a home game for Pittsburgh. They're going to be the home team here. Sid, you start this one for us. And I got Christine's pick. We got Christine's pick, so don't worry, folks. And we are like, well, where's Christine's pick? Don't worry. We got our picks right here. So Sid, you start this one for us with the Vikings Steelers.
The Steelers were lucky to get that win in New England last week. I'm still not impressed by their running game. I believe Carson Wentz will start for the Vikings once again on the flip side, I assume.
Yep.
Their running game was good enough last week, even though they trashed the Bengals at home. But I think it's going to come down to the defense, and we saw what the Vikings defense did to Cincinnati without Burrow. The Pittsburgh still trying to figure things out. In a close one, I'm going with the Vikings, and they are favored by 2.5 points. Even though they're going to be playing on the road for 2 weeks, I don't think they're going to be flying back home.
No,
they're
not.
I don't know their travel.
No.
I don't. They're not okay because they'll take a lot of them flying.
They're
12 hours and then going back. That wouldn't make any sense, though.
Yeah. Kevin O'Connell already said that they'd already have packed for 2 weeks, so they make sure everyone was well, kids and and the family members and stuff like that. So that's not an issue there. Now Christine has Minnesota, by the way, and I'm going to make it a sweeper. I'm also picking Minnesota. I think Carson Wentz definitely gives the offense an extra oomph. So I think that definitely kind of helps. I'm not going to say it's going to be a QB controversy in Minnesota by the time McCarthy gets back, but again, you go with the veteran right now, especially if he does well against that Pittsburgh defense. Just saying. But yeah, I'll pick Minnesota on this one. Let's see here. Next up, that'll be on NFL Network, by the way, 8:30, exclusively. You got a tricky one here on the NFC. You got the Commanders and the Falcons. The Commanders, looks like Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin are both out. Of course, Dan Quinn made that official just a couple of hours ago, early this morning. Atlanta, they stunk it up. So I'm picking it only because Mariota, look, just because I trust him more than I do whoever is a QB, whether it's Penix Jr. or Kirk Cousins. I'm picking Washington. So is Chrissy. She also has Washington.
I'll be the bad guy here. I know we're going to get this game in Chicago, not on this TV, but everywhere else in Chicago before the Bears-Raiders game.
Yep.
Just because of the injury situation with Washington. I know what they did last week, but just because of the injury situation, Atlanta, and they're at home, I think they'll play much better. So give me the Falcons. So the Falcons are currently 2.5-point favorites at home.
All right, so I'm going a little out of order because I know Chris, this is the Saints and the Bills. You got the. I'll keep it short and sweet. The Bills, and so is Christine. She also has the Bills.
Give me the Bills as well. They are currently favored by 15.5. Do you think they cover? I think that's the question here.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder will Sean McDermott pull his guys, pull Allen and Cook early, just because, especially if it's being a laugher by the end of the third quarter. So just the Saints, that Saints team is just, but I digress here. Now, most of the nation on Fox, because remember CBS, CBS has the doubleheader this week. Most of the people in Chicago and Illinois will get this game. Detroit as they host Cleveland. I know Cleveland came back and they were able to upset Green Bay. I don't think they're going to do it, to Detroit. I feel like Detroit is taking things personally. I feel like they're on a mission. So I think they got they got something on their head. So I'm picking Detroit for this one. So is Chrissy. She also has Detroit.
I'm going with Detroit as well, but I think that line is a little bit inflated.
What's the line?
Detroit's favored by 10.5 points at home. It's 10.5 points. Detroit. So if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was, I would take Cleveland in the points. But I'm going with Detroit to win the ball game overall.
All right, yeah. I'm trying to think. Would I take the under? Well, I would take under or over. I don't know, but have you seen both? They've been killing on both sides of the ball the last couple of weeks. So I don't know, but all right, we'll see. Now, if you're a bettor, I think you should stay as far away from this next game. You got the Titans and the Texans both 0-3. Sid, you start this one.
I think just because they're the home team, I'm going with Houston. They are favored by 7.5. No,
yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, that's the same thing. Christine said the same thing. She said, yeah, they're at home. So, yeah, she's picking Houston. And the same thing with me. I'm also picking Houston. So, yeah, that was quick. All right, you got the Panthers and the Patriots. Yeah, we got the Panthers and the Patriots here. And I know the Patriots have had a couple key injuries. I saw how the Panthers looked. I know how they did against Atlanta. I'll pick Carolina. No, you know what? I'm not that crazy. I'm not picking New England, but I think Carolina will cover whatever the line is.
Well, if you want to know the line, the Patriots are favored by 5 in New England. I think this is going to be a fun, bad game, LaKeena. Watch, still probably the highest scoring game of the week. I'm just throwing it out there. This could be a fun, bad game. So, because given way both these teams are quote unquote evenly matched, but I'm going with the Patriots in a close one here. This could get fun, but no one's talking about it.
Yeah, it's like the fun bad game. There's always one, especially now we're going to week 4. Christine also has New England, by the way. For those who's scoring at home. Okay, next up, I'm gonna be watching this game on this computer screen since unfortunately we're not gonna get this game here in Chicago. 3-0, a couple of 3-0 teams. You got the Eagles and the Bucks. This is a rematch. We've seen these two teams play each other over the years. I know that they have a lot of injuries. I'll talk about the Bucks. I know that I know Tristan Wirfs is still going to be out. I know Baker Mayfield's still banged up with those triceps. Shoot. Chrissy has Philadelphia, by the way. She said it was a tough call. I feel the same way. I guess I'll pick Philly too, only because it's a little bit better. But would I be surprised if Tampa pulls another game out of their rears? Which Philly did the same thing last week against the Rams. This could come out to a field goal. Okay. So I'll say this: I'll pick Philly too with a Jake Elliott field goal. I'll say it like that.
I would not be surprised if it came down to that. Like I said, both teams pulled wins out of the what's last week. Buccaneers a little bit more banged up. Like I said, Philadelphia has not played well, and they're 3-0 to start the year. I'm going with Philly too. They are favored by 3.5 points on the road. The over/under total is 44.5. I expect this to be a low-scoring game.
This could be one. I don't think it's gonna be one of those 7-6. No, it's not. They're gonna score more than that. But
no. I see 23-17, 23-20, something like that in there. Yeah.
Probably so. All right, now we're going to the 3:00 games. An intriguing one here. You got the 3-0 Colts against the Rams.
You got one. You forgot
Chargers. Oh yeah, Chargers and Giants. My bad. Maybe that's probably intentional here. The Jackson Dart era starts for the Giants. Sid, you start this one.
We won Dart. Not me personally, but. Giants fans, you got what you wanted. I just hope the Giants organization made this decision for all the right reasons. The Chargers are favored by 6.5. I think the Giants will play better. You'll see some good signs for Jackson Dart, but the Chargers are the better team, and they're the play here, so I'm going with the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm also picking the Chargers. Well, we know that Harbaugh will have, Jim Harbaugh will have his guys ready playing a noon game, and I know that they feel like I said, same thing with them. I think they feel it's personal, so yeah, they'll play a little bit better. Talk about the Giants, but yeah, I think the Chargers are the better team. They should win this one going away. Now we get to the 3:00 games, and now I'm going to talk about the game where I'll probably watch this game on this computer screen. You got the Colts and the Rams. Another one of these toss-ups. Oh God, this is just I've been back and forth on this one. I know that Daniel Jones has been playing very well. Jonathan Taylor's been very solid. On the flip side for the Rams, they're probably not going to be in a good mood because they know that they let that game against the Eagles slip away again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just for that, it'll be a close one, but I'm picking the Rams just because they're the home team.
I think the Rams have better
She
play.
also has the Rams. Sorry, Sid.
Okay, I think the Rams have better playmaker, more and better playmakers than the Colts do. Shout out to the Colts for starting off the year off strong, but they're playing a better team in the Rams, and the Rams are a real team, and the Rams defense is going to show up and show out. So I'm going with LA's NFC team here. The Rams are currently favored by 3.5.
All right, so I guess Vegas knows a little something here. Now, another intriguing one in the 3 o'clock window. You got the Jags and the 49ers. Unfortunately, the 49ers are going to be out with, Nick Bosa's out for the rest of the year. We know Purdy looks like he's going to be out as well again. So, Mac Jones once again for San Francisco. Sid?
Should I take a trip to the dark side or should I play it safe? Let me take a trip to the dark side. I'm going with Jacksonville here. Hopefully Travis Etienne will get off the bus running. Trevor Lawrence decides to play well with some consistency. And hopefully that Jaguars defense can turn it around and make a play or two. Like you said, Brock Purdy's not playing again. Like you said, Nick Bosa's out for the year. It should be no excuse for Jacksonville to at least run the ball with some consistency. That's the perfect game plan, right? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But I'm going to take a trip to the dark side and go with Jacksonville. And the 49ers are currently favored by 3.5.
Well,
I think which is a little bit inflated to me.
Yeah, we'll see. Christine and I are playing to say we both got San Francisco just because I think they're just a little bit better. And plus, I don't know what Jags team I'm gonna get. We don't know what Jags you're gonna get. I mean, because you get that. So we don't know. I mean, like I got a friend who lives down in Jacksonville, and he's been living through this for 30 years now. So it's just like, okay, whatever. But we'll see. Now, right now, the game. It doesn't. Well, it looks like it on paper, not really lately. The bottom 1 and 2. So this will be the CBS game of the week. You got the Ravens and the Chiefs. This will be the other game on CBS. Most of the nation, except for Chicago and Vegas, will get this matchup on CBS. But both 1 and 2. Baltimore, I know they've definitely been. I don't think it's because that they're not playing well on defense. It's just that they don't have the personnel right now. I know Van Noy is out. They lost one of their top D tackles to a neck injury. He might be out for a while. I know some people saying that Zach Orr, he's a DC. People are saying that maybe it's him. I think they just don't have the talent right now. I might regret this later. Lord help me, but I'm picking Kansas City just because they're at home. I know it pains me, you're with Baltimore, but it's just like I just don't, especially with that defense. I don't being banged up. I just really don't see it with Baltimore. At least not right now. They got it together last season, but right now with their defense being banged up, I just don't think this will be an ugly game. I'll say it that way. But yeah, I think I got KC just pulling it out.
Even though with Baltimore's defense being beat up, I saw what they did against Detroit. They got embarrassed, even though it was a close game last week on Monday night against Detroit. Kansas City's offense does not jump off the charts like it has been over the last few years. The last few years, Kansas City's offense has been conservative, and they just don't run the ball consistently enough for me. And Patrick Mahomes hasn't been Patrick Mahomes over the last 2 or 3 years. I know that they're at home, but I think Lamar Jackson, this will be a statement game for him and for Derrick Henry as well. Going to a hostile environment, you may see these guys again down the road in the playoffs. I think Baltimore goes in there and makes a statement. I don't care what the final score is. We pick winners on this show. I'm going with Baltimore, and they're currently 2.5-point favorites on the road.
All right, so I guess Vegas knows something that I don't. Also, Christine also has Baltimore BTW. Yeah, but like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I'm happy to be wrong. If Baltimore
What did Christine take?
Baltimore. Yeah, I just said it. Baltimore. the lagging delay is a little bit much here. Yeah. So we're just see what happens over at Arrowhead. Now you're a Sunday nighter here. Well, this should be interesting. You got Micah Parsons. You got Micah Parsons making his return to Dallas. With his new team, the Packers, as they face the Cowboys. The Cowboys are banged up too. So I'm going to take it short and sweet. I think the Packers are going to be in a good mood, especially after blowing that game against the Browns, and they did blew that game. So I'm picking what is it, Cleveland? Well, I'm picking Cleveland because they should have beaten Cleveland last week. But yeah, I think Green Bay bounces back and they will take it to Dallas.
I hate to say it, I agree with you. Even on cheering as hard as hell for the Cowboys, they're gonna play without CD and Lamb. Their defense looks like crap. You would think Green Bay's offense will get it together, especially after that performance last week at Cleveland. I think pride is on the line here for both these teams. I think Green Bay will win this game. Even on cheering as hard as hell for Dallas, I think Green Bay should and will come out on top here.
Going to be very interesting there. All right, you got two Monday Nighters. It's not technically a double header, technically, but this one, there's a reason why this was going to be on ESPN. It's about the 0-3s. You got the Jets and the Dolphins. So, Sid, you start this one.
Both teams 0-3. Miami's currently a 2.5-point favorite at home. Dolphins head coach Mike Barrow is staring down the barrel of a pink slip and link card. You would think that the Dolphins will play better just because at home. On the flip side of the Jets, I think they'll be without Justin Fields once again. So Tyrod Taylor will get a start, and the Jets will go on the road to the state of Florida for the second straight week. I think only because they're at home, I'm going with the Dolphins. If the Dolphins don't win this game, Mike McGee could and should be out of a job. I'm going with the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm also. Oh, shoot. See, this would happen. See, this what happens. When you yourself. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm picking the Dolphins too, and so is Christine. I just don't. Yeah, you hope that this will be a close game, but yeah, I think if the Dolphins don't win this, yeah, I think you can probably say bye to Mr. McDaniel. So they should be able to get this one, but we'll see what happens here now. All right, now. This other one should be a little bit better. This will be on ABC. You got the Bengals and the Broncos. You start this one, Sid. Oh, yeah.
The Broncos will be 7.5-point favorites against a Bengals team that got embarrassed last week. I think Cincinnati will play better, but Denver, the last 2 weeks on the road, 0-2, gave both games away at Indianapolis. At Indianapolis, I forgot. It's blank on me who they played last week, but Bo Nix has not gone out to a start like we all thought in his second year out of Oregon. But Sean Payton should have these guys ready. They're at home. It's in their elements. I'm going with Denver here.
Yeah, I'm sure Denver's going to want to redeem itself against that loss here with
the Chargers. They played the Chargers last week.
The Chargers. So. That's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, the Bengals, you would think after getting their butts kicked by Minnesota, you would think they probably would feel a little bit of kind of a pride. But yeah, I think playing the elements, I think Denver should have this win. And so is Christine. She's picking her husband's team, the Broncos. So this should be a nice bounce back game for them. All right, last but not least, we've got the Bears and the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, they actually just posted injury reports. Let me go down my little Twitter feed here. Our buddy, Miss Deion Miller from ABC7, also ESPN Chicago. They're out there in Las Vegas right now.
She's there in Vegas this weekend with Peggy.
Yes, she is. Yes, they are. And all right, so Kyler Gordon, questionable. Colston Loveland, limited in practice, also questionable, as well as DeAndre Swift. Now, this is going to be key here. TJ Edwards out with the hamstring. Grady Jarrett out with the knee. And also Darnell Wright, he's now out too with that elbow. So, yeah. So,
that means Ozzie Trapillo or Benedict will start. And that's going to be key because Max Crosby plays on that side for the Raiders. So,
Benedict actually played well last week. But again, that like I said, that defense for the Cowboys, like I said, there's really nothing to write home about. So, like I said, we got a couple of friends that probably could have, done what he did. So, now will this change my pick? I don't know. But Spiro Diaz and Adam Mitchell and also Aditi Kabawaba will have this game for CBS. This will be the other game on CBS, as most nation will get Baltimore and Kansas City. Mostly Northern Illinois, mostly and most of Nevada will get this game here. So, yeah. So how it's set up here with the regional stuff. But yeah. Now you see, gosh. Now with this injury reports, I'll still say the Bears win. But again, I might be kicking myself later on because I can see Geno Smith perhaps maybe getting his best game of the season. Even probably Ashton Jeanty getting his best game of the season for Vegas. So it'll be. I think the Bears will do just enough to win. But again, I play it with the caveat that they might. Again, with your three defensive guys being out, two defensive guys, one of your O-line guys being out. That might be a problem. So, Chrissy also has the Bears as well. Just want to get that out of the way. But, I'm picking the Bears, too. I might regret it later, but.
That bye week cannot come. Yeah, that bye week cannot come soon enough for Chicago. I'm going to jump in all body parts deep clothed, by the way, in picking the Chicago Bears. It's going to be close than some people expect. I know Vegas is currently .5 favorite. Now we know why, because of the injury report. But the Bears should be coming off the bus running, take the pressure off of Caleb, help out on double teaming Max Crosby, and hopefully someone can come up with a turnover or two on defense because they're going to need it. As we mentioned before, the Raiders' offensive line is one of the worst in football. And let's not forget their special teams in terms of their coverage. I'm talking about for the Raiders, it's not that good either. So hopefully the Bears can make a play or two on special teams. I think it's going to be ugly close, but the Bears are going to pull this one out by a field goal. So I'm going with the Bears.
Now, could I see perhaps, like I said, Geno Smith, have his best game of the season? Probably so, especially now that.
Oh, very possible. Yeah, very possible. Yeah.
Also, Chichi could have his best game. His rookie year, he's primed to have a breakout, especially now that with Jared being out as well. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. That is your picks for week 4 of the National Football League. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you as we wrap things up here. A couple of updates real quick. You got the Ryder Cup going on up in upstate New York and Bethpage up in upstate New York. Europe, they won 3 of the 4 foursomes. They're up 3-1 right now. They're up 2-1 on one match. I got Steven Straka and John Rahm up against Scotty Scheffler and JJ Spawn. You got Cam Young and Justin Thomas, 2 up on Jörg Harburg and Lloyd Oidberg. And then the other foursome matchup, you got Bryson DeChambeau and Brian Griffin, 1 up on Justin Rose and Tommy Fleetwood. This is 4-ball, by the way. And also, you got Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry, 1 up on Stephen Burns and Patrick Cantley. So for me, I would say I think Europe will win it. I think U.S. will keep it close, but I think Europe just has too much firepower. We'll see what happens in these 4-ball. So basically 4-ball is just the average of the two. So the two foursomes. So that's basically what it is. You got best ball, of course, the best shot, and of course alternate shot and such. So yeah, that's basically how it works. Of course, you got the single 18 players playing, all 18 players playing singles on Sunday. So that's basically how the Ryder Cup works.
All right, a couple of shout outs here to both guys, friends of the show. One, Ryan James from WVON's sports show on Fridays. He celebrated his 27th birthday yesterday. Like I said, he's on the WVON's sports show, The Fundamentals. You can catch that tonight and every Friday night from 9 p.m. to midnight Chicago time on AM 6090 WVON. For those of you outside the Chicagoland area, and some of you in the Chicagoland area, download the iHeartRadio app. Just type in WVON Chicago, and you can listen to the show right there. So happy birthday to a friend of the show, Mr. Ryan James, 27 years young. If he's watching this, he's a couple years behind us, so he's doing a great job. Hopefully he keeps going. Hopefully we can get him back on this show soon. I know he's a very busy man. And another congratulations to another friend of the show. We had him on during the pandemic of the NBA's COVID season. Cam Smith is officially now your new pre- and post-game host on CHSN for Chicago Bulls coverage, joining Kendall Gills. So congratulations to him. As I told you, I saw him at the Sox game on CHSN 9 a couple weeks ago. And it's been a while since I saw him face-to-face. LaKeena, I know you had been in contact with him working at IMS downtown. So Cam Smith is very good people. Chicago's very young. He played at SIU. He's very connected not only with the Bulls, but within the league and then the NBA as well. So he's going to do a great job. I think the Bulls Media Day is on Monday, so he's going to bring you those great interviews with the top players in the Bulls on the Bulls team. So Cam Smith, once again, congratulations, my friend. He's going to do a great job for this upcoming season. And as being an Xfinity customer on cable, I get to watch Bulls basketball when I want to every day now. And I'll definitely be watching. One of the reasons why is because of Cam Smith. He's your new pre- and post-game host for Bulls basketball CHSN.
Yeah, YouTube. Yeah, YouTube, actual YouTube, not the YouTube TV because they don't have it. But YouTube's been my friend with these CHN matchups. So we'll see what happens here because this is gonna be we figure everything we stay in house, and sure enough, that's what they've been doing. So we'll see what happens here. Now, the WNBA semifinals conclude tonight. Both teams are gonna be. It's gonna be very interesting here. Of course, you've got both Vegas and the Fever. We'll see if they can. We'll see if they can get it going here. Also, Minnesota and Phoenix. So the winners of these two games, both these games will be on ESPN too, by the way, because ESPN has college football. But both these, whoever wins both these games will advance to the finals next week. So if you're inclined, you got the Aces and the Fever coming up at 6:30 first tonight, and then you got the Lynx and the Mercury coming up right after that at 8:30, also on ESPN too. So if you're so inclined, the semifinals for WNBA, they finish up tonight.
Okay, real quick, I know we got to bounce, but the win totals for the NBA teams were released recently, LaKeena. I know we're going to do our NBA preview show coming up in a few weeks, but you mentioned, I think we mentioned that the Bulls Media Day, I believe, is on Monday, this upcoming Monday. The Bulls offer on the total from Vegas is set at 32.5. I know we're gonna write it in pencil, but would you take the under or the over 32.5 in terms of wins this season?
I'll be nice to say 35. That way I'll have a little bit of a cushion, especially if they stink. So, I'll have a little, like I said, I'll have a little bit of a cushion there. So, I'll take the little over, but not by much. I'll say 35. They won't get to 40. I'll put it that way.
You may be correct. I'm jumping in with you, but I'm going with 33. But like I said, these predictions are in pencil, so. Like I said, we'll have a little less than a month before we do our NBA Bulls / NBA preview show. But if I know the management, as we talked about, they're admitting that they're rebuilding. So if it's going to be the same story, whatever record they had last year, they'll probably have the same record again. If we get to play in tournament, Whew, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to go into the weekend feeling down. I just want to ask you that question before we let the show. I'm sorry, but I saw that number. I was like, really? I'm not saying they're the world's greatest thing. We know the Bulls, they are who they thought they were. They're in NBA hell, but 32.5, I thought it was just a tad bit low. They're not Brooklyn. They're not Philly. Speaking of Philly, real quick, they're going back to the Allen Iverson era uniforms from when he won the MVP.
I saw that.
Do you like them?
Yeah, I saw. Yeah,
I'm glad they did it personally.
I've always liked those uniforms, so I'm glad they're going back to those. Also, did you see the ones with Minnesota? Minnesota's going back to the ones with the trees in their logo when they had that. I know.
Yes, I'm glad.
Yeah. So I saw. I think that was Julius Randle who modeled them, modeling them. But that's what they're doing too. So some of the NBA teams are going back to some of their late 90s, early mid aughts uniforms. So and I actually like those. Real quick.
The Atlanta Match is sort of doing the same thing, but with the remix version. Do you like the remix versions of their 90s uniforms? I like the home jerseys, but the road jerseys are garbage.
Yeah, I never liked the road. I never liked the road jerseys. There were no. I was not a fan of those. No. Too bad they can't wear those home jerseys on the road. Well, they might, but because it's crazy how they do that sometimes. But I never liked the road jerseys. They looked awful.
Yeah. All right, take us home.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, again, the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, SIDKID80, SIDKID80. Be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please subscribe to our podcast, War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media and all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance. Your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And if you miss an interview, don't worry. Even if you catch our show, reruns of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellas, and all their other great content. You can catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on the Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
All right, so enjoy the baseball as they finish up their regular season, the college football, NFL football, WNBA, Ryder Cup, soccer, all the other. Just a great busy sports weekend. Of course, you got hoops starting coming up in a little bit here. So a great time of year, even though the weather's been a little. Well, the weather's actually going to be nice this weekend. So enjoy those last couple of days of summer before it starts. The temperatures crash and it starting to get cool again, and it starts getting dark about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, you got another month before you got to worry.
I'm not ready for that yet.
Okay, you got another month before you got to worry about that. So, but even still, just be safe out there. For Sid, I'm LaKeena with Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Dump Bears, holla!